In 1992, a mysterious seismic signal allegedly reached Alaska from halfway around the world. According to the story, an underground experiment in China created a shock wave that was picked up by monitoring equipment in Anchorage. But what experts claimed they saw in the waveform was far stranger than a normal distant quake. Beneath the frozen ground north of Anchorage, there appeared to be the outline of a massive underground structure. Some described it as a hidden pyramid. The story really begins 3 years earlier, in 1989, when a U.S. counterintelligence officer named Douglas Mutzler was stationed at Fort Richardson, outside Anchorage. While reviewing an Alaska map, he noticed something unusual. One section north of the city was left blank, marked only as an area that had not been surveyed. In a place as heavily studied as Alaska, that made no sense. Douglas suspected the military was hiding something, but he had no proof. Then came the television broadcast in 1992. One night, local news reportedly covered the strange seismic reading and mentioned the possibility of a gigantic structure buried under the ground. Douglas immediately connected it to the blank zone he had seen years before. He recorded the segment on a VCR tape. But when he checked the replay later, the report was gone. The station denied ever airing such a story. That should have been the end of it. But one staff member allegedly told Douglas that two government agents had already arrived and taken the tape. Now the case looked even stranger. Douglas later visited a military archive at Fort Meade, hoping to find records about Alaska. He was able to locate a few files. But before he could read much, he was abruptly stopped and ordered to leave. Whatever was buried in Alaska, someone wanted it kept buried. Years passed, and after Douglas retired, he shared the story with investigative journalist Linda Howe. Linda began collecting testimonies from people who claimed to know more. The first came from Bruce Pearson, whose father had once been invited on a helicopter cargo flight near Denali. The flight carried a sealed silver container, and when the aircraft approached its destination, the passengers reportedly experienced intense magnetic interference. On the ground, men in black uniforms without insignia unloaded the cargo and quickly refueled the helicopter. According to the pilot, the site was linked to a massive underground pyramid. Another witness, said to be an electrical engineer, described being flown into a remote Arctic landing strip, then driven for hours to a concealed site. There, beneath a camouflage structure, was an elevator shaft leading deep underground. At the bottom, he claimed he saw a gigantic black pyramid inside a cavern-like chamber. He also said the structure was generating extraordinary energy. A third source, a remote viewer identified only as A, described the same basic layout: a fenced surface building, a stairway descending underground, a long elevator ride, and a vast facility with tunnels, laboratories, and a black pyramid lit by pulsing electrical arcs. In the most shocking part of the account, claimed the site was overseen by a non-human figure working alongside scientists. That is where the story shifts from strange to impossible. Still, the testimonies shared a pattern. None of the witnesses knew one another, yet they all described a hidden underground installation near the Denali region, a place of restricted access, strange transport flights, and unexplained energy activity. Over time, that consistency made the legend spread. Supporters of the story point to Alaska's long history of UFO reports and disappearances in remote wilderness areas. They argue that if a hidden energy source existed there, it could explain why strange lights are often seen over the region. Skeptics, however, point out major problems. If a structure that large had truly been exposed on local news, more witnesses should have come forward. And if a camouflage entrance and elevator shaft existed in open terrain, it should have been found by explorers long ago. So what is the truth? Maybe it was a classified military site. Maybe it was a case of distorted memories, rumor, and coincidence. Or maybe, hidden beneath Alaska's ice and rock, there really is something massive, silent, and waiting to be found. Either way, the Black Pyramid remains one of the most disturbing mystery stories ever told about Alaska. And if it is only a legend, it is a legend that refuses to die.